Okay, I'm Cho Chen Ling, and I'm going to start my presentation. And my topic is AI application in theater front desk service and enhancing audience engagement in English, Japanese, and Chinese opera. Okay, and before I start, let me ask a quick question. Like, have you ever faced a situation where communication felt like a barrier you couldn't really easily overcome? In my role at Taipei I, this happens quite often. As a front desk assistant, I meet visitors from all over the world, and many are curious about our Chinese opera performances. But sometimes their questions are in language I don't speak, or they touch on cultural topics that I don't know much about. For example, a Japanese visitor once asked me about the unique sounds of Chinese instruments, and I struggle to explain to them because I don't know about it. So, this inspired me to think about how AI could enhance our ability to serve international audiences. Today, I will explore how AI can improve front desk operations by addressing language barriers, enhancing cultural understanding, and elevate the overall visitor experience. And my focus is on the intersection of AI, English Japanese communication, and Chinese opera. There are several challenges that we face now in theater front desk service. The first is language barrier. At Taipei I, many of our guests are from Japanese, Korean, or English speakers. While I can communicate in English and some Japanese, there are times when visitors speak language that I don't know, or they use cultural phrases that are really difficult for me to understand. And this create gaps in communication, especially when they ask about performance details or cultural elements. And on busy nights, the front desk can be very overwhelming. Guests are rushing to pick up tickets, ask questions, or to find their seats. So it is really challenging for our staff to give each person the time and attention they need. In these moments, I would wonder how AI could help streamline the operations and make communication more efficient. And we also encounter a lot of cultural understanding questions. Like once a Japanese couple asked me about the instruments that is used in the Jingju performance, and they wanted to know the name and the story behind the instruments that they found fascinating. I know the instrument is called erhu, but I couldn't explain to them in Japanese of its historical or cultural significance in detail. And this made me realize that even as a native Chinese speaker, I sometimes lack of the depth of knowledge that the visitors would like to know. And I think there are several aspects that we can have AI applications in the front desk third service. And third is for multilingual communication. Like you can use AI-powered translation tools like DeepL or ChatGPT and can constantly bridge language gaps. Imagine a guest from France asking about a performance, and AI device could translate their questions into English or Mandarin and my response back into French. This would create a smoother and more inclusive experience for non-English speakers. And even for Japanese visitors, like who make up a large portion of our audience, AI could help refine cultural explanations. For instance, I could use an AI translation app to explain the complex Chinese opera elements in their native language and improving their understanding and appreciation. Third, AI can also enhance cultural explanations. Um, by using ChatGPT, can generate concise and rich descriptions of Chinese instruments, costumes, or opera stories. For example, if I'm asked about what is erhu, um, I can use AI to help me provide a detailed history and explain its role in traditional Chinese music. And this could fill knowledge gaps for front desk staff and enrich the visitor experience. Also, I think AI can help in ticketing and visitor management, like using chatbox or AI ticketing systems. Then, if we come up with one, could help reduce the stress of busy times. Guests could use chatbox to ask about showtime or book tickets online before they arrive to the theater. This way, it could free up our staff and focus on more personal interactions. Like we have events that we help our customers to try on the Chinese opera costumes and we take pictures for them. Or we have um, professional performers that they draw the makeup and show it to our audience. And we also have teacher who will draw like small patterns on their hands. So if we don't need to bother the checking and the long line, there will be more audience that could get to be able to try on more costumes and have more understanding about our show. And by using AI, it could elevate our audience experience. So first, like personalized recommendations. Like AI could analyze audience performances and suggest performance that tailor to their interest. For example, a guy who enjoy in Beijing opera could receive recommendations for similar shows or cultural events at Taipei Eye. And our show won't be always playing the same one, so like we change once a month. and each month they could receive the newest pamphlet to know what's playing this month. In this way, if they're interested, they can come back and to watch the new show. And the second is real-time interaction. We provide subtitles because our show is in Chinese or in a singing way, so even Chinese speakers don't really understand what the actors are talking about. So we do need subtitles to help us more understand. Now we only have 4 languages of subtitles on the left and right of our stage, which is Chinese and Japanese on the right, and English and Korean on the left. And if we can have more subtitles, like maybe let our visitors have access to like augmented reality devices that can provide real-time translations for our subtitles or detailed explanations that what's happening on stage. It could make the performance more accessible and engaging for especially those who are not familiar in English or Chinese. And the third is using AI can convey complex cultural concepts in simple terms, and our visitors can gain a deeper appreciation for Chinese opera by explaining the symbolism of the opera's costumes or the meaning behind certain gestures who become more easy. This will become more easier and effective because there are really small details that can tell the difference of the actors, but if you don't know the Chinese culture enough, you won't be able to tell. For example, like married and unmarried ladies, how they would dress different, or why does they um wave their sleeves before they start dancing. These all have meaning in it, but while you're watching the show, we might not be able to get to notice it or understand why the actor are doing those gestures. In in at Taipei, our seat is free sitting. So, and as I mentioned just before, we provide different subtitles on the side of the stage. But when I was the staff that sits in the hall, I often get questions like, where do you recommend I sit? But actually, we don't have a best recommendation because everyone has different preference. So I think if we use AI, it could address this by creating a dynamic seating guide. Like it could analyze the layout of the theater and including the subtitle visibility and stage angles and acoustics to recommend the best seat based on the visitor's language and preference. So if we have an app or a device for our theater, and our audience could enter their language preference, and AI could instantly highlight the optimal seats on the digital map. I think this would save time for our staff and ensure that each of our audience has the best possible experience. Mm, but we all know that AI is not perfect. Like translating cultural concepts and accurately can be really tricky sometimes. And some phrases and ideas might lose their original meaning while being translated. And I think this is especially true for the artistic and symbolic elements of Chinese opera, which require careful explanation. So I think while AI can handle repetitive text, it cannot replace the warmth and the empathy of human interactions. Visitors still value the personal connection they get from our staff. So I think we should use AI as a tool rather than a replacement. Mm. So, in summary, AI has immense potential to enhance theater front desk service, from breaking down language barriers to provide detailed cultural insights. It can help us create a more inclusive and enriching experience for our international audience. And I could see a future where AI works alongside our staff and deliver exceptional service. I think AI will handle the technical and linguistic challenges and also allowing us to focus on what matters the most, to build genuine connections with our audience and to share the beauty of the Chinese opera. So AI and human creativity are not opposites in my personal thought. I think they complement each other. By combining technology with a passion for cultural storytelling, we can make every theater visit unforgettable. And that would be that's the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening.